It's Monday, August 25th. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. More evacuations and damaged homes as Maritime wildfires grow. Remembering the New Brunswicker who made Secretariat a racing legend.
We have rain and showers moving through, but it isn't a soaking for the entire region.
Live from our Maritime's News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. On this Monday, we begin tonight with the wildfire situation in our region. Homeowners have been forced to flee as the Long Lake wildfire continues to grow. It has now burned 80 square kilometers. We did see some rain, and we'll bring in CTV meteorologist Caleb Mitchell shortly. But first, 2 New Brunswick wildfires sparked fresh evacuation advisories for a pair of New Brunswick communities. CTV's Derek Haggett visited them today.
You couldn't see or smell the smoke on Highway 117, but that doesn't mean people living in the area are not worried about wildfires.
We're very concerned, yes. We have a lot of people stopping in here that they're on their way because they just got their evacuation notice, and yeah, very concerned, everyone is.
The province issued an evacuation advisory from Black River Bridge to Little Branch on Sunday, urging people to be prepared to leave their homes on 24 hours notice. Some were getting loved ones ready to go just in case.
Yeah, obviously some big concerns. I'm actually up here to make sure that she's, not all the way ready. We're not loading up a trailer yet or anything like that, but packing up the valuables and sentimentals.
There was a sense of relief in Point Sapin this morning, which is located roughly 30 minutes southeast of here. An evacuation advisory for that community was lifted this morning. Smoke was clearly visible in this coastal community a day after an evacuation notice was given for residents living within 2 kilometers of Daig Road, which includes this man.
Last 24 hours has been hectic for the elderly.
A peat moss fire at the end of the road had people here on edge, mainly because of yesterday's high winds.
Probably a lot of them didn't sleep last night until today they found out that the fire has been contained, and now they're starting to relax a little bit.
More good news, the area did receive some much-needed rain for about 30 minutes today. Derek Haggett, CTV News, near Miramichi.
To Nova Scotia now, where Premier Tim Houston conceded properties have been damaged as the Long Lake wildfire continues to grow in size. CTV's Jesse Thomas is in Annapolis County with the latest.
A bird's-eye view from a Cessna shows just how out of control the Long Lake wildfire grew this weekend. On the ground, a doorbell camera captures the urgency as fire officials go door to door helping to evacuate. The fire more than doubled in size over the weekend, measuring 7,780 hectares in size, forcing the evacuation of more than 330 properties. Some have been damaged.
We really can't imagine what it must feel like. And also with the added anxiety of not knowing what's happening to your home, it's an awful time. Out of respect for those families, they are being notified first before we confirm any numbers.
The Red Cross has a shelter set up at this NSCC campus in nearby Middleton, while the Salvation Army Church in Bridgetown has a donation center set up. As more people evacuate the fire, the more families they see.
Yeah, so it had grown to about 70 households, and when I say households, that doesn't include every member of the households. Now, just from today, we've gone from that to 85.
The province announced some financial aid today for evacuees, $500 for adults having to evacuate for 4 to 7 days and $200 for minors, while an additional $500 and $200 for those out 8 to 14 days, while an additional $250 and $200 for anyone beyond 15 days, to a maximum of $3,000 per adult and $1,750 per minor. The tinder dry conditions and the wind this weekend helped the wildfire spread out of control. Crews on the ground had to pull back because of the heat of the fire.
But the day on Long Lake was a bad one. Despite best efforts, a week of planning and everything we could do, that fire responded as we thought it would to the weather. The weather conditions were not good for us. It responded pretty much as we thought it would, and that fire stood up and ran away.
It's raining right now, but what we're expecting in the forecast won't be enough to make a difference in terms of containing this wildfire. DNRR officials said today we need sustained rain for days to make an impact. As far as the funding for those being forced to evacuate their homes, they can find a link on the Nova Scotia Department of Emergency Management website, or they can apply in person at any Service Nova Scotia site. As for the Salvation Army, they're welcoming donations too. They say cash and gift cards for things like food and gas will go a long way to help those families impacted. Todd?
All right, thank you for that. That is our Jesse Thomas reporting from Bridgetown tonight. There's a look at Lunenburg in the harbor where it's 19 degrees. I believe it's raining in the background there. Let's bring in Kaylin Mitchell because that is the story right now, the rain, and will there be enough?
Yeah, but it's not evenly distributed around the Maritime. So yes, there is some steadier rain around Atlantic coastal areas of Nova Scotia, but other parts of the Maritimes today seeing more showery conditions with a low chance of maybe a small downpour or thunderstorm moving through that could bump up rainfall amounts at least locally. As we take a look towards the west of Nova Scotia, you can really see how the rain differs from around Atlantic coastal areas and then moving inland or towards the interior, and that does include into the vicinity of the Long Lake fire. Yes, we have some preliminary reports of rain totals over 20 millimeters from some automated weather stations, but then moving into the interior of the southwest of Nova Scotia, the rainfall totals drop down to around a few millimeters. It's possible they could pick up another couple millimeters of rain, but we were really hoping that some of that steadier rain worked its way in a little bit further towards the west, but does not look like that is going to happen. As we take a look at things on radar and satellite, you can see where that heavier rain is still working its way into Nova Scotia. That's basically through the Halifax area, and it'll be coming up the eastern shore, parts of the north shore, the mainland, and locations into Cape Breton. And behind it, more showery conditions, except for a couple thunderstorms moving up through the northwest and New Brunswick. It's another part of the Maritimes they could pick up some locally higher rainfall amounts, because in just the showery weather, you're going to be lucky to see a few to several millimeters of rain out of this system. It was a weather front that moved in from the west. The reason why Atlantic coastal areas of Nova Scotia and the east of that province are picking up more wet weather is that when the front moved over the Atlantic, really started to focus some of the moisture off the ocean there. You can see it moving up kind of like conveyor belt and directed specifically to that part of the Maritimes. Now, another benefit of seeing some of this wet weather today is that hopefully it's improving air quality, where it became worse over the weekend because of the growth of that fire and those southerly winds. Some of the smoke, near surface smoke, was actually pushed over into southern areas of New Brunswick, even parts of Prince Edward Island, leading to those air quality statements being issued and an air quality warning, of course, continuing for Annapolis County. I've had some reports out of the south of New Brunswick that the few showers that they have seen today has been enough to improve air quality a little bit. Our viewer picture for tonight, Todd, is actually going to show a smoky scene out of the southeast of New Brunswick this past weekend.
Thank you. We'll see in 15 minutes. We got plenty of those now, Kaylin, because even as you mentioned, where fires are not burning, negative effects are still being felt, and that smoke from the wildfires has settled over Greater Moncton, where it prompted air quality warnings. Here's CTV's Avery McRae.
By the afternoon, it seemed like any other day in Riverview, but the morning told a different story.
The smoke about 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock was really bad. It was thick. You could feel it almost burning your lungs and even in your eyes.
You could see a cloud of smoke, and it looked like fog, but it was just staying there. So, and you could smell it like a campfire here first thing this morning.
The town of Riverview was one of many municipalities in the region to issue a special air quality advisory due to wildfire smoke, most of which comes from the Long Lake fire that continues to rage in neighboring Nova Scotia.
We certainly do get a lot of inquiries. Some come in the form of 911 calls. Other calls just come into the station, or people come into the station to, report smoke near their home.
Riverview Fire Chief Robin True says thick wildfire smoke can have an impact on one's breathing, especially if they have underlying respiratory conditions.
Even a person that doesn't have any respiratory conditions, when they're exercising strenuously or working hard, it can be difficult to breathe. It can also be irritating to the eyes. The air quality as a result of the wildfire smoke was so bad in the area this morning that Canada Post issued a red service alert for Moncton, meaning all mail service was suspended for the day.
That includes both deliveries and pickups. For those who have no choice but to work in the conditions, the New Brunswick Lung Association has some advice.
If you have asthma and you're taking medications for that, you may need to reach for that medication more often. So I would recommend that you speak to your doctor about that. Drinking lots of water can help your body mitigate the impacts of the smoke, but just really listening to your body.
Langell reminds residents that wildfire smoke is a form of air pollution and there is no safe level. Avery McRae, CTV News, Riverview, New Brunswick.
And while some fires still burn, New Brunswick is removing restrictions on Crown land. Officials updated the situation this afternoon. CTV's Nick Moore has the details.
Rain and cooler temperatures are taking the edge off a wildfire season that the New Brunswick government says has never been more volatile.
I'm pleased to share that as of midnight tonight, we will be removing the restrictions that were placed on Crown lands.
That order first went into effect more than 2 weeks ago. Premier Susan Holt says the wildfire situation has improved but is hardly over.
The province-wide burn ban remains in place, and we're asking all New Brunswickers to continue to be safe and to take care, to be thoughtful about your ATVs, not to smoke in the woods.
It was tough to get everything under control when we had 39 fires essentially all at once with those temperatures. Today it's much different. We have 18 fires. We're making progress on the 3 fires that are deemed to be out of control.
Natural Resources Minister John Herron says the forestry sector is back to an order of only being allowed to harvest at night.
We still think it's appropriate for us to be able to have those restrictions with the forestry sector itself. They can harvest, but it's going to be under the auspices that we've used during past dry seasons.
While there has been a helpful change in the weather, both Holt and Herron say the wildfire risk in New Brunswick is expected to remain high until at least the end of September. Nick Moore, CTV News, Fredericton.
Bit of good news there. Thank you, Nick. Let's make this tonight's CTV web poll. We're asking this question: should the woods ban be lifted with today's rain? Your options are yes, any amount of rain should remove the ban, or no, much more rain is needed. We would like to hear from you at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. All right, let's turn our attention to some other news of the day now, when the lockout of Dalhousie University faculty is inching closer to the start of the school year. Negotiations between faculty and administration seems to be at a standstill. As CTV's Vanessa Wright reports, students are left wondering what's next.
It's unusually quiet on the Dalhousie campus just days before the start of the semester. Some campus tours are taking place, but not without uncertainty over whether school will even be in session.
It's been a frustrating experience all around.
More than 1,000 faculty members have been locked out since last week following an ongoing dispute over better wages. With classes scheduled for next week, it's left students stuck in the middle.
This is a labor negotiation that they're not a party to. They don't have any say in, and it's impacting their quality of education, their well-being, and also, their ability to plan and make decisions about their upcoming year. And so I think I'm hearing a lot of frustration and also just, the confusion and uncertainty as well.
Especially from international students coming to Dalhousie from away with plans to move in.
They should be pretty nervous considering the fact that they have arrived in a brand new country with not a lot of connections usually for most of us. Parents are afraid. The parents are afraid of sending their kids because they don't really know, is the classes going on? Will the semester go on? Should they stay at home for one term? So there is and are the flight tickets refundable? So there are a lot of challenges and uncertainty with the situation for international students especially.
In a statement to CTV News, the university encourages students to continue with their plans to arrive on campus as normal. They say school services will be open and residences will welcome new students on schedule. Orientation Week festivities are already underway, and while many students support their faculty's right to a fair deal, they're hoping for a quick resolution.
We don't really know what's going to happen. I hope both the faculties and the administration finds the middle ground for the good of the students. But currently, I think it's up in the air.
Vanessa Wright, CTV News, Halifax.
It was a deadly weekend in our waters. One person drowned at a beach on mainland Nova Scotia, while in Cape Breton, a teenager was saved in a rescue that was caught on video. CTV's Ryan McDonald reports.
It was a weekend rescue off the coast of Glace Bay that was caught on video by a member of the Glace Bay Volunteer Fire Department.
About 1:45 on Saturday, we got a call for a young fella that was clinging to a piece of driftwood off of Hill Street.
Glace Bay's fire chief says knowing there were riptides in the area over the weekend, they called for backup to try and help the teen who was in the water, which included a 23-foot rescue boat from the fire department's Marine Division.
There was just too much wave action. It would have been too dangerous for us to do a shore rescue, so when the boat arrived, Glace Bay went in and Dominion backed us up and threw a rope to the gentleman, and he was able to grab onto it, and he was extremely tired, so they pulled him on board.
Well, there was 3 people that were swimming about 500 to 600 meters from our supervised area.
At Melmurby Beach in Pictou County on Friday, it was a different story. Paul Dion of the Nova Scotia Lifeguard Service says lifeguards were able to rescue 2 people from the water, but the third, who RCMP confirmed was a 60-year-old man from Ontario, couldn't be saved.
They eventually located him in the rip current and brought him to shore, and they did CPR, but unfortunately it wasn't a successful rescue.
Back in Glace Bay, the fire chief says the incident they responded to could have had a different outcome.
He was exhausted, he was yelling for help, and if that piece of driftwood if he wasn't holding on to that, this would have been a recovery.
Now, with lifeguards about to head back to school and university, Paul Dion says that safety should be particularly top of mind for anyone who heads into the water this long weekend.
Take extra precaution because our lifeguards are finished for the season.
Ryan McDonald, CTV News, Glace Bay.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
We lost a great Maritimer Friday. Jockey Ron Turcotte died. He was 84 years old. Under his control, Secretariat won the Triple Crown, became the fastest horse in history, and ranks with names like Ali, Ruth, and Jordan as one of the greatest in sports. CTV's Jonathan McGuinness takes a look back.
If horse racing is the sport of kings, Ron Turcotte sat on the throne for years. The Drummond, New Brunswick native won over 3,000 races during his career. Most notably were those with the legendary Secretariat. Winning the Triple Crown in 1973, the duo dominated the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont. In doing so, setting records that still stand. Some claim the 31-length victory in the Belmont was the most dominant win in sports history. In total, Secretariat, nicknamed Big Red, ran 21 races. Turcotte was in the saddle for 18 of them. Here's what Turcotte had to say about Secretariat back in 2013.
Secretariat was different. I mean, he was a bold machine. He would go through holes and, you know, that the horse would be hesitate to go, and he was the most horse. I mean, he was the greatest horse that ever lived, in my opinion.
Turcotte was inducted into the New Brunswick Sports Hall of Fame in 1974, and both the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame and the Canadian Sports Hall of Fame in 1980. Ron Turcotte passed away at his Drummond, New Brunswick home from natural causes on Friday at the age of 84. Jonathan McGuinness, CTV News, Halifax.
After a fall in the Belmont, he also became an advocate for people living with disabilities. You saw that he was in a wheelchair there. At 6:35, we'll be joined by Ron Turcotte's friend and business partner, and there's much more on our famous jockey at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. All right, we will take our first break of the Monday evening show. Still ahead, Kaylin has rain to talk about. We're certainly happy about that. But first, row, row, row your boat.
I feel like we're rowing against our friends with the town next door.
With the trade war in the background, the Lunenburg dory races saw neighbors in friendly competition. That's next. For the 74th time, teams of Canadian and American rowers faced off in the Lunenburg dory races on the weekend. It was an example of friends uniting and competing at a time of tension, of course. Matt Pritchard of NBC Boston came to see how it's done.
For 74 years, Gloucester and Lunenburg have been racing dory boats. It's part competition and it's also part heritage. And while relations between the United States and Canada may sour, this relationship remains strong. Dozens drawn to the docks for a tradition that dates back decades.
We're just going to go out there and have fun. The grandmas kicked out.
Each summer, the international dory races bring the towns of Gloucester and Lunenburg together, with the Canadians coming down for round 1, the Americans heading north for round 2. While those bonds run deep,
we go around this buoy. Yep.
Many are just relieved this year went off without a hitch.
Like anything that's gone on for 74 years, it's had a lot of ups and downs and a lot of challenges.
Now, trade tensions between Ottawa and Washington causing concern rowers either couldn't or wouldn't cross the border in 2025.
The bond between our two ports, which we think can survive just about anything, even political turbulence, and maybe even a hurricane or two.
It sounds like Canada is now pulling back on its retaliatory tariffs. Does that kind of give you hope that maybe things are starting to de-escalate?
Our Prime Minister and your President are talking behind closed doors like professionals. I think they're negotiating the right way, and I think negotiating is a key term.
In the negotiation, there's always give and take. And my hope is that we're headed in the right direction.
Comments echoed by those behind the oars.
The people making it an issue aren't seeing the day-to-day and the people that really don't have issues, and I think that's the majority of us.
We need to find our own bond, find our own rivalry, find our friendship, and bring that together.
Hammering home the special relationship between these communities and hoping for smoother seas in the days ahead.
I feel like we're rowing against our friends with the town next door. It's really not about politics on the water. You know, it's...
And that report from Matt Pritchard of NBC Boston. Still to come, down to just some spotty showers in the region for Tuesday. Kalen will return with the full weather forecast right after this. Up and away to some overcast skies looking down George Street, the north end of Sydney this afternoon.
Nice view.
Nice view. Will they see a little bit of rain?
They will. Rain is on its way in, so some of those drier fields that we're seeing here from our bird's eye view be welcoming some of that wet weather for sure.
Still not enough to get those
still not enough.
Those burned fields up to green again.
Yeah, need more, and as we talked about earlier, not everybody got sort of the soaking rain. That was mostly restricted to parts of Nova Scotia. Other areas, shower
It's that sharp line right through the province of Nova Scotia, and it doesn't hit the Annapolis Valley, Annapolis County, those areas that really need it most.
Needed to be a little bit further towards the west. Let's take a look at weather conditions across the country. We'll get back to our forecast here in the Maritimes. There is an extended period of late summer heat beginning to build in towards the west. Already some special weather statements out in areas like the interior of BC, parts of Alberta, just giving everybody a heads up that a long period of hot weather's on its way in. We can see 27 right now at Calgary and Edmonton, 28 at Fort McMurray. It's 29 at Saskatoon right now. Winnipeg not quite into that hotter weather yet. 18 degrees and some rain being reported there. Temperatures a little bit more moderate now in southern Ontario and southern Quebec compared to last week. Fredericton, Charlottetown right now, 21 degrees, 19 rain being reported at Halifax and St. John's sitting at 20. Want to update you on another tropical weather system. This one is Tropical Storm Fernan. Now, Fernan is going to be moving up towards the northeast. It is going to be staying well offshore the Maritimes and Atlantic Canada. We are not expecting any weather impacts from that weather system, and it's not part of the rain that we're seeing today. That instead is a weather front that moved in from the west, drawing moisture off the Atlantic. As we continue through the rest of this evening and tonight, the steadiest of the rain is going to be moving from in around the Halifax area across eastern areas of Nova Scotia, including Cape Breton. And then during the overnight, that steadier rain moving over the Cabot Strait into areas of Newfoundland. In behind it, some cloudy periods and some patchy fog and drizzle into the start of the day on Tuesday. Now, fog and drizzle will be dissipating as we move from the morning into the afternoon, which will feature feature mostly a mix of sun and cloud and very low chances of some spotty showers tomorrow. We're talking about a 10 to 20% chance at any given community in the region to maybe see a shower. So we don't want to look at Tuesday as a day where we're expecting to see some significant wet weather in the region. Winds, as this weather front moves through, change direction, and Tuesday's winds will be more out of the west. And they're going to be a little bit the blustery side with some gusts coming up between 20 and 40 kilometers per hour. We'd like to see the winds lighter than that, of course, when it comes to the wildfire situations in the region. Low temperatures in the forecast for tonight. Bit of a stuffy night because of the higher level of humidity in the air. Most of the lows 16 to 19 degrees, so between 12 and 16 in the northwest New Brunswick. Northern areas of New Brunswick tomorrow in the northwest, high temperatures 19 to 22, and in the northeast, highs between 22 and 26 degrees, 26 there at Miramichi. 26 for Fredericton and St. Stephen for tomorrow, then 22 at Grand Manan and St. John, up to 25 degrees for Moncton. In Prince Edward Island, we're looking at high temperatures, mostly 22 to 25, including 25 at Summerside, near 22 for Cavendish, 24 for Charlottetown, and then 22 at Surrey in the east. For Cape Breton tomorrow, high temperatures of 22 to 26 degrees, the mix of sun and cloud, breezy southwest winds. Around the north shore of Nova Scotia, high temperatures close to the mid-20s. On the eastern shore, highs between 22 and 25 degrees. 24 for Amherst, 23 for Truro, and 24 degrees for Halifax tomorrow. Then 23 for both Chester and Lunenburg, bit warmer at Bridgewater, closer to 26. 24 for Shelburne, 19 at Yarmouth, and 26 degrees in the Annapolis Valley. Again, very low chance of a passing shower. Taking a look at the 7-day forecast for New Brunswick, we've got a mix of sun and cloud ahead for both Wednesday and Thursday. Our next chance of showers in general for the Maritimes will be at the end of the week on Friday. It's followed by some clearing in the weekend forecast. Temperatures cooling off a little bit. Sunshine expected next Monday, a little bit warmer, highs around the mid-20s. For Nova Scotia, cloudy periods in the forecast for Wednesday. Temperatures cooling a couple degrees as a result. A mix of sun and cloud for Thursday. We have a chance of showers on Friday. A mix of sun and cloud for the weekend ahead, and then sunshine to start next week. So again, we need more rain showing up in these sort of extended periods in our forecast. Prince Edward Island, mix of sun and cloud, highs in the low 20s on Wednesday, low to mid 20s on Thursday. Chance of showers on Friday, and then after that, a mix of sun and cloud for the weekend forecast. Temperatures cooling on Sunday, and then warming up a little bit again on Monday of next week, Todd.
Boy, that's just not going to do it, is it?
No, no. Friday, hopefully, we can see an increase in the amount of wet weather expected for that day, but that's going to be our next best chance.
Okay, we'll see you towards the end of the show for the Wake Up. Thank you, Kaylin. Next, we'll talk about the amazing life and career of New Brunswick jockey Ron Turcotte. And we have this story on the scene.
I'm Katie Kelly. Tonight on The Scene, that's a wrap on the 4th annual YQM Country Fest. I'm going to give you all the highlights from this year and tell you who's coming next year. Stay tuned.
Mornings with Crash and Sarah Betts.
Hey, do you have any gum?
Maybe.
That's one of those things you don't mind asking people for. We'll talk more about that tomorrow morning.
Plus, we've got Harvest Music Festival tickets tomorrow at 7:20.
Welcome back. We want to spend more time now on the life of Ron Turcotte. The Hall of Fame jockey passed away Friday at his Drummond, New Brunswick home, and we are pleased to be joined by Leonard Lusky, Mr. Turcotte's longtime friend and business partner and president of the website Secretariat.com. Nice to see you, Mr. Lusky. I know you two were very close. I'm sorry for your loss.
Well, thank you very much. He was a very special man.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a bit about your friend?
You know, Ron, when I met Ron, I like everybody else. I was a horse racing fan, and he was a hero. I grew up here in Kentucky, and we like our horse racing heroes here. And he was absolutely, you know, on a pedestal from the moment that he crossed the finish line in 1973 here at the Derby. And knowing him that way, as a fan, certainly was thrilling, but getting to know him personally, that was the best it could ever be.
He loved and was loved by other jockeys, even long after his career. What was it about him that they admired so much?
Well, you know, it was not only his accomplishments. He had reached the pinnacle of success in horse racing by winning the Triple Crown. He was a Hall of Famer. But I think that really what it was that made him so special is the way he navigated life, the way he dealt with adversity, the resilience, the kindness. He was such a good friend to so many people, and that great saying, you know, he never met a stranger. He certainly accommodated the press. He accommodated the fans, and he just, as a friend, he couldn't have been a better one.
He had adversity on the track, no doubt, because he was in a very competitive occupation, but adversity in life, because, of course, in 1978, he had that fall at the Belmont, rendered him paraplegic. But, you know, there's that old saying about getting back up on the horse. He was almost immediately was determined to be an advocate and do good.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Ron is one of the fortunate ones. I mean, he had achieved a lot of success, a lot of fame, and he was in a position to really be a leader for the Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund and a spokesperson and just a great benchmark for anybody who has had an adversity. And, you know, what he did for that group and the recognition that he brought them, it was phenomenal.
Leonard, we're seeing some pictures here of, and there's that famous photo where he's looking back 31 lengths to see his closest competition. Secretariat was a special horse, of course, but it took a special jockey to get the most out of him. How did he do that?
Well, I think that with all horses, they're different. And, you know, some require different handling than others. Some have you can't muscle them. Some you can't let them muscle you. I think he had the right combination of intuitiveness, how to work with a horse, and I think that actually started in his youth when he was lumberjacking and dealing with horses then, and I think that helped him immensely. But to know when to go, when to press the button, when to stop. I think he really understood the emotions of a horse, if I can put it that way. Yeah. What they want, where they were headed.
He was a pretty cool customer, wasn't he? I think there's a famous story that he would recount about being on Secretariat. Was it the Belmont, where he was well within the pack, and he said he knew what he had underneath him. He wasn't worried about whether he'd win.
Yeah, that was the Derby, actually. He was in last place.
He was in last place.
Last place. And but he did. He said he knew what he had, and sure enough, he did it. And that, you know, that this moment, that 31 lengths, it's just incredible. You see the Belmont, and it just it brings people goosebumps even still today to see it. It's one of the greatest moments and performances, I think, in all of sports.
Yeah, he still has that record, right? The Secretariat owns that record for the fastest.
He actually broke the record, the Derby, Preakness, and the Belmont.
Yeah.
And it's been close to the record has been close to being broken in the Derby and the Preakness, but I don't know if the Belmont will ever be broken. That hadn't been touched.
Mr. Lusky, we're certainly proud to have been able to call him a Maritimer, and we know you'll miss him, and we'll certainly miss him here on the East Coast. Thank you from Louisville tonight.
Thank you so much.
We'll take a break. We'll be back with much more of your newscast. In health headlines tonight, there is a certain diet that could help reduce your risk of dementia. CTV's Stephanie Seacos has that and more in the Monday edition.
Closely following the Mediterranean diet lowered the risk of dementia by at least 35% among people with 2 copies of a certain gene, according to a new study.
More than 5,700 people were followed for 34 years as part of the study, which was published today in the journal Nature. It showed people who followed a baseline diet full of vegetables, fruits, nuts, whole grains, legumes, fish, and olive oil, with a limited amount of alcohol, red, and processed meat, reduced their risk of dementia. Those involved in the study had 2 copies of the ApoE4 gene, which is a major risk factor for Alzheimer's. The first known human case of a potentially deadly tick-borne illness has now been documented in Canada. Officials in Quebec have confirmed a case of what's called Rocky Mountain spotted fever in the eastern townships. The case is Quebec's first ever reported RMSF infection. Cases have also been reported in dogs in Ontario. Initial symptoms typically appear between 3 and 12 days after a tick bite and can include fever, headache, nausea, and vomiting. That's followed by a characteristic spotted rash that can appear roughly 3 days after other symptoms. If left untreated, the fatality rate can be as high as between 20 to 30%. If you're trying to quit smoking, vaping is not the way to do it, according to new guidelines by the Canadian Task Force for Preventative Healthcare. In the recent report, the task force recommends smokers use other nicotine replacements like the inhaler, patch, and gum. Smoking rates have declined in recent years, but tobacco remains the leading cause of preventable disease and death in Canada. With health and medical news, I'm Stephanie Seacoast for The Lifeline.
Time for The Scene with Katie Kelly. Well, that's a wrap on the YQM Country Music Festival, the 3-day event brought together, well, we saw them, right? Tens of thousands of country fans in Dieppe. CTV's Katie Kelly was there for the duration of it. She had a great time, and she sent this rap.
Dasha, you just killed it.
Thank you. That was so fun.
Okay, listen to this. Listen to this. This is how much I love you. How much you love her? How does that feel?
Crazy. It's really crazy. It's a very new feeling, so I'm very grateful.
The 4th annual YQM Country Festival was a huge success.
Enormous work goes behind the scenes that nobody would ever know. We got drivers driving around through all the hours of the night, driving some men to the airports and whatnot, getting food, you know, setting up tables and tents and this and that. There's probably 300 or 400 people working today, so it's a big organization behind it, and we're very grateful to, you know, have this team together and keep on going.
Headliners Kane Brown, Jelly Roll, and Luke Bryan were among 15 country acts over 3 days.
Oh my gosh, the vibes were insane. Jelly Roll, he was so happy to be here. Like, I think more happy than I was to be here. The vibes were just insane. Everybody here is so nice. I haven't met a rude person once. It's like, you know, just very Maritimes.
Speaking of the Maritimes, we had our time to shine. Jelly Roll asked both New Brunswick American Idol contestant Olivier Bergeron and Trailer Park Boy Bubbles to join him on stage.
Great, year 4 under our belt. We're super happy. It was, weather was perfect. We had great crowds, and we're ecstatic to be back here in 12 months.
Amazing. I've never been here before. Like I said, I didn't even know this time zone existed. And the people here are just so incredible. So I'm so stoked.
Oh man, it was awesome. I think we stepped all over Cameron Marlowe's gear, but we had a good time. It was fun.
You know, I'm just gonna give people a lot of the songs that they're expecting. I don't really change up my set list too much.
We're going to bring the party. We're going to bring the energy. Yeah, I think me and the whole band, like, we absolutely just love playing music together, and we're all, like, best buddies. And I think that people get that on stage. So we're just having a good time, and yeah, we're here to party.
Oh, we got a great show planned. I'm excited to show some new songs that haven't been released, and also some songs that have been around for a while, so hopefully we get some people singing.
Artists say performing on the East Coast is unlike anywhere else.
I love it. My phone GPS is set on redneck mode, so whenever we're driving, we always take the back roads whenever I'm taking my shifts. So we get to see a lot of the pretty country, and you know, coming up, we came up through upstate too, so it was cool to see some of that again. But yeah, I love it up here. It's great people and pretty things to look at for sure.
And I feel like y'all are like some of the most loyal fans in the world. So I'm glad to be back. It's always a pleasure.
They are so excited, and they come the earliest to all the shows. Like, yeah, that's at least what we found. East Coast shows, like, we know people are showing up. And it's just like, I love that music is just like in the culture, like so embedded in the culture of the East Coast, which we love. And everybody just, I don't know, like they're the best fans. We love them.
3, 2, 1, Post Malone!
And fans are already excited for next year. All 3 YQM headliners have been revealed.
So we're ecstatic. It's a great variety. We've got the new blood with Zach Top, you know, the established guy that's been around here forever with Eric Church, and Post Malone's first time in Atlantic, Canada is just going to be next level. You know, he's going to play his country hits, and he's going to play his classic, you know, hip-hop rap hits, so we couldn't be more happy.
You announced one per night here over the last 3 days.
Yeah.
How did you see the reaction? Because people freaked out over every single one.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was the first time for us doing that. Usually we make them wait a couple months. But no, it was great to hear the fan reaction. I think we're in for a huge year next year.
All right, thank you for that. Katie, it looks like it will be a good one next year. Let's take a time out. We'll show you what's on CTV tonight. We'll be right back. On the markets, the Dow opened the trading week down 350 points, and there's a push by some shareholders to make Cineplex a more valuable company. Lindsay Biscaya with B&M Bloomberg has the details.
One of the largest shareholders of Cineplex is pressuring the company to buy back its shares. Windward Management is also calling on Cineplex to sell non-core assets and prepare for an outright sale, arguing the stock could nearly triple to $30 a share. And here's a look at how the trading day ended today. Another dip for the Canadian dollar, putting it just over 72 cents US. West Texas Intermediate is up, ending the day at 64.80. Western Canadian Select is also up 17 cents to 50.77. And the TSX dropped 163 points to 28,169. Those are your business headlines. I'm Lindsay Biscaya.
All right, to the weather deck now, and the pitter-patter of rain on the umbrella. We haven't heard that for a while.
Yeah, I was going to ask Todd if that was coming through over my mic. Isn't that a beautiful sound? I just wish I could say that it was raining heavy like this out here north end of Halifax at the moment across the entirety of the Maritime. So we do know not everybody is going to be seeing the same amount of wet weather out of this system. Yes, very steady, even heavy rain around Atlantic coastal Nova Scotia and into the east of the province, but other parts of the Maritimes, showery conditions. All right, let's take a look at our weather watcher for tonight. I talked a little bit about this earlier, but the other thing the rain is good for, aside from, well, really lots of things in the region right now, is to clear some of the wildfire smoke out of the air. The southerly winds this past weekend really pushed some of that near surface smoke into southern areas of New Brunswick. A very hazy scene here sent in by Karen Crawford from the Moncton area. Now, Moncton for tomorrow can expect a mix of sun and cloud. Very low chance of a spotty shower, say 10 to 20% chance, and a high temperature near 25 degrees. Day planner for tomorrow, starting off in the morning around the Maritimes. Cloudier conditions. It's going to be some patchy fog or drizzle around. Morning temperatures will be mostly around the mid to high teens. As we move from the morning into the afternoon, the drizzle and fog should dissipate, and the sun breaks through a little bit. We get into a mix of sun and cloud, and high temperatures tomorrow for many communities in the Maritimes will be climbing up towards the low to mid 20s. That'll be accompanied by a west wind. There'll be a little bit in the breezy to blustery side for tomorrow. We'll have some wind gusts in the range of around 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. And that'll continue basically from the afternoon and straight on into the evening hours. Let's find out what's coming up tomorrow on CTV Morning Live.
Tuesday on CTV Morning Live, wildfire update.
We'll get the latest on the current wildfire situation in Miramichi and how things are going for our neighbors to the west.
News, weather, and more. It's everything you need. CTV Morning Live, Tuesday.
And finally for us tonight on this Monday evening, we've got some cool images of a SpaceX cargo ship when it docked with the International Space Station this morning. Take a look.
SpaceX Dragon, meters away from the International Space Station.
That's the Dragon capsule. It arrived at the station delivering 5,000 pounds of supplies and scientific experiments. The capsule successfully docked at the forward port of the International Space Station's Harmony module. This is SpaceX's 33rd resupply mission for NASA. While connected to the ISS, the Dragon capsule will also perform a series of engine burns that will help maintain the lab's altitude. The SpaceX Dragon capsule will eventually carry samples and other scientific gear back to Earth. Always cool to see that. And that is a look at our day here at home, on the ground for the most part. Bruce Frisco is here at 11:30 with the late update. CTV News Atlantic.ca has Updates anytime. I'm Todd Battis. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you right back here tomorrow night at 6. Good night.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast.